Hello. We are live. All right. We're going to get into it tonight. It wouldn't be PacaCast without a throwback guest to our pre-numbered episodes. I think we're on episode number 4. So I can't be bothered to do any content. But we're going to welcome back Mr. Tom Lately.
How's it going, folks?
We're going to ditch the music, get it down low. We're going to get rid of the AI down-tempo music. All right, so what's the topic tonight? The topic tonight is the incompatibility of and unsustainability of the modern multicultural world. And so we've had, the news is we're kind of coming to this late in terms of the murder of Henry Nowak and the people that were involved in all of that. So we're just going to jump into it, kind of go through a couple different write-ups, share our perspective on it, and hopefully give you a sense that the world is not in a good place. You guys need to be watching your six and not take safety for granted anymore. But also, leave you with a little bit of a message of hope. So we're gonna get started by watching this guy.
Alpaca, I can't hear it.
Can't hear it?
No.
Not good.
Not that I want to be honest with you. It took me a while. I didn't watch this for a while. I knew what it was, and I didn't even watch it for a long time. I was posting about it, I couldn't stop thinking about it without even watching it. Saw the pictures. I finally have seen it now, but I really didn't want to. It makes me sick.
One second. Let me just. That's coming through. Okay, so that's that. Yeah, sorry, folks. We're working with we're trying to work with Restream here, and I'm not exactly sure. Whatever.
If you just hit play, we could just talk over it. We could explain what's happening. I think most people have already seen it at this point.
Share audio. Okay, there it is.
Oh, good.
All right, let's see if this works now.
From there, he slipped from there.
Yep, I hear it.
Okay.
My dad's talking about that. Right. He keeps dropping side to side, so I'm just trying to keep him set up.
Right.
He's got a mouth full of blood. I don't want him.
I can't breathe. He was on the bin on the other side.
Now, this guy in the white over here is holding up a probably pretty close to dead Henry, who has been bleeding out for the better part of probably 20 minutes at this point, right? And so, the cops arrive, absolutely no urgency. And what you'll notice is that they're entering into the scene completely convinced that this young man is like some drunk chav that's been harassing brown people. And that's the overriding assumption, because everyone knows that white people are the most dangerous cohort in Western societies.
He's jumped over these fences and stuff like that. And
Right.
he's up
Move
here.
away, mate.
He's obviously fallen
Right.
from there and he slipped from there.
There's other shooters left over there, mate.
What's your name, mate? Huh? Has anyone been hurt other than him?
Yeah, me.
He's grabbed
He's grabbed my brother, he's took my turban off, started grabbing my head.
Are you
like
injured?
that. Yeah, I've got swollen eye, little bruises.
Alright, just step back a little bit for me. Someone flag these.
No, officer, you got to look at me. I have this indetectable bruise above my eye from where I was almost certainly assaulted. Please believe me, officer, as I utilize my family that's here to lie on my behalf for, you know, this guy that's like that I've stabbed 3 times. He's not gonna mention the fact that the boy's been stabbed. Right now, officers are operating under the assumption that he, again, is probably drunk, jumped over this fence and hit his head or something, and that he's just slightly concussed. Meanwhile, Henry's lungs are filled with blood as he's trying to articulate anything.
He's down.
I just dad.
Right, let's get you out of there, shall we? Oh.
I was in bed asleep. Whenever just find me up.
I've been stabbed. I've been stabbed. Let me drag you across the pavement. Not a care in the world from these officers.
I can't breathe.
Grab his other arm.
Come running around the corner.
What's happened to you, alright? You've been stabbed? Whereabouts? Don't think you have, mate.
Don't think you have, mate. Or you got a license to bleed out into your lungs, boy. It's just the other callousness. And again, it's based on these fundamental assumptions that these officers have, that this guy is just, you know, some sort of drunk racist that was assaulting the poor cherubic brown people.
You've got nothing. I'm going to keep you up.
Hand?
I can't breathe.
Put the hand in the cuff, mate.
He can't breathe because by putting his arms behind his back and opening his lungs up like that, it probably opened up the wound even farther and allowed more blood to accumulate in his lungs.
This is like times this has happened to us. You've been walking in the park. Can we get around what times we've had people racistly attacked, nothing happened.
The brown people in the background continually say, "Oh, he's just a racist. He's a racist. That was a racist attacking me. He's a racist." None of that is true. None of that is true. These people are lying the entire time. These officers are delivering aid, and I use that term loosely because obviously they're not delivering aid at all. They're arresting this guy that's bleeding out.
He's saying he's been stabbed, so
Where
let's
is it
just
you
check
think
him.
he's been stabbed? In the face? Oh no, but we have to check.
He hasn't been stabbed. You can hear the Sikh scream, like shouting in the back. He hasn't been stabbed. We're going to talk about how, you know, this is kind of a 10-second African effect here.
Don't we?
Right.
In the face?
Just get these to back off, get their details and that, and I'll keep hold of him.
Please, brother, I can't breathe.
Shall we
Right, keep you on your side, mate. You better retrieve then. Saying to him, keeping him on his side. We were sat up when we had him here, but he didn't like it. What's your name, mate? At the moment you are under arrest, and that's for assault, so you do not have to say anything, may harm in defence if you do not mention when questioned. So to which you later rely in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence, alright? It's going to be sick, I think.
At this point, Henry is probably dead.
So I just want you to call it.
Yeah, we've got this male. He's
just
been beat up. Are we able to get an ambulance, please?
His pupils aren't even reacting.
Yeah.
And then they call for the ambulance. After all that.
Yeah. It's horrific. It's despicable. It's disturbing to watch. I can understand why there were protests yesterday. There's probably protests even today in England. They went to the house of these Sikh Indians. And there's just so much here. There's so much to talk about. Paca showed me that Millennial Woes did a nice rundown of the details of this case. And there's much more to it than we see here. Henry had been bleeding out for a long time. His murderer made videos of him as he was laying there bleeding out. There are long videos of him talking to Henry as Henry is dying that were deemed too disturbing to be shown in court. So not only were they not released to the public, they were not even shown in court because they were too disturbing to be shown in court. Paca, how does that make sense? Explain to me the legal theory behind a video being too disturbing to be shown in court, if that court is indeed convened to try the man for the crime that the video depicts.
Yeah, let's take a walk through this because the more I learned about this particular murder, the more incensed I became at this situation and everybody involved. So like Tommy said, there's the Millennial Woes this week released kind of a synopsis, and it's very narrative. It's well cited. Everything is linked, so you can look at all the BBC reporting, all the Twitter reporting, and so just to set the stage. This guy is an 18-year-old. He's from Essex. He's a good kid. Makes cringy little TikToks with his sister. Like not not a criminal, not like a bad element, not even in a bad neighborhood. This is like standard UK like brownstone neighborhood. And so he's coming home from the bar. He's watching sports with his boys, at heading home at 11 o'clock. It's not even past the witching hour, right? It's just guys walking home from the local pub. And he encounters this guy who lives nearby, this Vikram Singh Digwa. And keep a note of this name, Singh. It's going to appear pretty frequently in the public record. Where this guy was an accountant at a local firm. His own people banned him from the temple because he was behaving badly. He was part of the Sikh religion, is that you get to wear this kirpan, which my kind of brings up I get Mandalorians were probably based off of this a little bit in the Star Wars lore, but it raises a question, does the Saxon get to carry his sword? Up. Are we back? I think I lost recording a little bit. Little glitch, people. So he's carrying his ceremonial dagger. And this guy was driving Deliveroo, I guess, not making enough as an accountant. He's also
not looking good for the English economy when your accountants need to do delivery driving.
Well, and this kind of substantiates the issue with the Indian diaspora, and Sikhs are Indians. And one of they come and participate in all manner of gig economies, lots of tax frauds and misreporting, and multiple families living in houses and all that sort of thing. It's not.
Yeah, I wonder how legitimate his job as an accountant was. That might have been his job on paper for some sort of legal status in the country, and then he goes on to drive Uber to make actual money. Is that him?
Yep, here he is. Hampshire accountant firm welcomes 10 new starters as business demand grows. So,
okay,
we can.
So he really was a diversity hire for this interesting looking group of people.
Yeah, I don't know anything about English accountancy or HWB as a firm, but it does.
Do you see the strap on him? Is that his sword?
I wonder. Will this show up?
I wonder if that would be his sword right there.
Yep, that's his fucking sword.
So in England, where, just to remind everyone, women get arrested for carrying pepper spray in this country. The women of England are arrested if they carry pepper spray. But this Sikh nigga is carrying a freaking weapon at the accounting firm faculty photo. He's wearing a sword.
That is wild.
That he later used to kill an 18-year-old boy. He gets to carry that around in this country, but the girls next to him cannot carry pepper spray to defend themselves from him. That's how it works in England.
even in America, right? Like if I have a little bit of my ceremonial, item poking through my t-shirt at the softball game, people are going to give me a hard time about it. Like it's just so blatant, so disrespectful of any semblance of a social contract. It's just, oh, you have a funny hat, so you get to do whatever you want.
Just let him do whatever he wants. You
Yeah.
carry your ceremonial Glock 19 at the little league games, Paca?
Well, I mean, Glock 19 is only for high holidays.
Okay.
Yeah, for normal, any other day in the liturgical calendar, it's probably going to be like an MNP Shield too.
Gotcha.
So this encounter wasn't completely random. This guy he parked like away from his house. He didn't even park at his house, and he says he wanted to go fetch some chips. They have this exchange where Nowak is like filming TikToks or Snapchats or something. And I guess the car, he's a little bit tipsy, so he's just musing to himself in a sing-songy way, like "Hello, car," and this enrages Digwa, and it says that he deliberately bumped into him. And then here's where you can kind of tell the character of this person. He comes up to him. "Do you think you're a bad man? I'm from Essex. You don't know what people from Essex are on, mate." Like, and for context, the bad man. I'm a gangster. I'm a Sikh gangster. I got my ceremonial dagger. Are you trying to shoulder bump me on the sidewalk? And so they have all these footage from the Snapchat, and Nowak walks away. He retreats. There was no altercation initiated by Nowak. "In it, bad man. What a bad man. You're a bad man. Say you're a bad man. Go on." Just joking with him, like, what a ridiculous thing to say. And Digwa comes back, "Yes, I'm the bad man. I'm a gangster." Uh, grabs Nowak's phone, and the footage ends. And so the rest is all from Digwa's from testimony, from Digwa's phone and the recordings that were seized from him, and from security footage from people's rings, doorbells. So that's where the rest of the story goes. So Digwa's assertion was that after he snatched his phone, Nowak started beating on him and took his turban and was saying racist naughty words, and that meant Digwa had to unsheath his sword and accidentally stabbed him in the chest a few times, and once in the jaw. But either way, Digwa did not respond well to Nowak not taking his status as a gangster seriously. So he slashed his jaw, he stabbed him in the groin, and then he stabbed him in the chest and punctured his lungs and cut a major vein. And so this is how Nowak died. He died from blood, internal bleeding into his lungs, which is why you can see him in the footage saying, "I can't breathe." So what happens next is wild. Digwa records on his phone, and Nowak tries to escape again. He's been stabbed 3 times. He climbs on top of a trash can to jump over the fence and get away. He's leaving a trail of blood, and Digwa is recording him while taunting, "You're not getting away with this, big man," and stabs him twice in the back of his legs as he's trying to climb away. So he's been stabbed 5 times now by Digwa.
Remember, Digwa here is filming himself stab Henry in the legs. Just so we're clear. He is filming himself. This is going to continue with Digwa and his family filming themselves committing the crimes. So there's like a level of low IQ to this, but also a level of just complete shamelessness. Complete shamelessness. Like, I can understand Digwa himself, the man himself, being some kind of psychopath. You mentioned he had a history of bad behavior. He'd been kicked out of his own Sikh temple for like aggressive, violent behavior. So maybe this guy is just like got demons in him and he's aggressive. But his brother films the dying Henry, and his mom takes the sword and hides it, and his brother films his mom taking the sword and hiding it. What is going on with this family? They're committing all these crimes, and it kind of seems like, okay, they're covering up for their brother and their son, right? He killed somebody and they kind of know that he did. And so they don't know how bad it is. Maybe he just attacked him, but they know he kind of hurt somebody. So they're going to try to like cover it up or whatever. But to film yourself doing it, right? Like how dumb or shameless do you need to be to film yourself as you're doing it? And he films himself stabbing the guy. It's not even just the family, it's the actual stabbing. He's like, I'm going to stab you in the legs and film you as you're trying to get away from me after I just delivered a fatal blow to your chest. It's insane.
Yeah. Digwa went out to be a predator, and he did what he wanted to do. And so, you know, he's now over this fence. Digwa follows him. He's bleeding out on the pavement in some rando's driveway. Nowak pleads with him, and Digwa mocks him. Took his phone, took close-ups of Nowak, presuming admiring the injuries he had inflicted. So this is color, but it's probably true. Footage from home security has Nowak saying, "I'm dying," and Digwa replying, "No, you're not. You're not dying, bro." And then a full 10 minutes later saying, "You stabbed me," and Digwa saying, "No, I didn't." So this is 10 minutes on this security footage. So for more than 10 minutes, Nowak has been bleeding internally into his lungs. And then here you have the 10-second African, where, you know, this low IQ mentality where it's just like, you know, either he's so adroit at lying as easy as he breathes, where he's convinced himself, "No, I didn't stab you. What are you talking about? I'm just, you know, beating up on another white boy because that's fun for me." You know, or he's just retarded. He's just an idiot and thinks, "Oh, like, you know, I didn't stab you because the stabbing is not occurring at this moment right now in front of me, and I have no perception of past. It's just that was another version of me. I didn't stab you. I couldn't have stabbed you because I don't remember it." So it goes on, you know, having denied he punished him, Diwa now explains why he punished him. So this is again on the security footage. "You were recording me thinking you're sick." So the Sikh has it in his head that the white man's entire focus was not just making a funny Snapchat on his way home from the pub. The white man was recording the Sikh because the white man secretly was making fun of the Sikh, and that gives the Sikh enough moral cover to stab him in the chest and the groin and slash at his jaw because he was going for his neck, and then stab him in the back of the legs twice as he tried to escape.
Yeah, I think this is important because I think after reading this is the actual provocation. I think that Digwa killed Henry Nowak because he was filming him. I think this was a deranged man who was obsessed with swords and knives. He carried an additional sword and had a collection of knives and swords and practiced with blades. He wanted to stab him, but the provocation was this. A slightly drunk Henry Nowak, although they did say it's below the driving limit, so it wasn't that drunk, but a slightly drunk Henry Nowak was filming him and making fun of him, basically. He was just like, "I'm not scared of you, haha, what do you think, you're bad?" and filming him. And Nowak didn't like that. He's like, "Yeah, I am bad. I'm gonna grab your gun, grab your camera." I mean, he grabs his phone, and then that's the end of the film that we have before Henry got stabbed. So I think that just shows there was a provocation here. What was the provocation? He was filming him. Now, I don't know the laws in India or England, but here it's not a crime to film someone on your phone in public. If you're walking down the street, you're allowed to do that. I know it's kind of obnoxious. It's not very nice maybe to film people if they don't want to be filmed, but you're allowed to do that. And you're not allowed to murder someone for filming you on their phone, actually, thankfully.
Yeah, I think it would probably, like, you know, Nowak probably thought it was just a weird encounter. Like, you're just walking along filming a selfie, you know, for your Snap story, and then some random Indian guy in a turban gets real mad at you for no reason. Like, it's just a strange encounter to happen. And, you know, this is probably one of those instances where it's like a little bit of racism saves lives, man. Like, yeah, there's the trick here is to like be racist and like keep your head on a swivel and know that these people are unstable and also armed. So you're certainly not interested in having a confrontation with these people.
Well, yeah, we can learn that, but this is an 18-year-old boy who is slightly drunk. who's
Yeah, it's
walking
not
down a neighborhood, like a nice neighborhood in
nothing
England,
about that is his fault. It's
right?
just
Like
this is the lesson that we have to learn now is that
this should not be happening in our villages. That's
yeah,
the problem. Like if you, I bet you, if Henry Nowak himself was slightly drunk in the Bronx, right, or the wrong side of Brooklyn, he would not have acted this way because he knew to be more. I bet he wouldn't have called himself racist, but he would know to be more on his guard. But here he is in his own territory, right, in a nice neighborhood, and he's not expecting to get murdered, right? And he shouldn't. I strive for a future where the villages of England do not have deranged Indian psychopaths that are going to stab our young men. You know,
right. 100%. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like it's an unfortunate lesson that you have to learn, and there's nothing really you can do in retrospect. Like Noack didn't do anything wrong. It's just this is what we have to learn as a people is that you like, and there's the old adage, never relax. And I think this just speaks to like an emboldening that's happening as white people become more and more a minority in their own countries. These people are going to be more and more emboldened to take advantage of you, especially that they know that they can say the magic racism word and have the cover of the legal system. This is probably one of the most interesting aspects of this is that during that 10-minute period where presumably on a separate recording from the earlier one of him stabbing Noack in the legs, he spends an entire 5 minutes just torturing this guy, and that the video was withheld from trial for being too disturbing to be shown. I did where was that? Let me see if I can pull this one up because I was curious as to what the yeah, there's not really anything else in this.
It says it's him laughing at Henry as he's dying.
Yeah, it's just he's torturing this guy. He stabbed him 5 times, and now he's just torturing him and mocking him as he's dying. And so the one time Deagwa makes a phone call is his older brother, and immediately they're able to concoct a story, and they know the magic word. They know how to get out of this. They're secure in their plan. Their plan is this kid was a racist, right? So that another lesson is that white people need to stop believing accusations of racism. Like unless you see it and it's you have firsthand proof that someone was actually abusing someone for racist reasons or whatever that would happen to mean, you just can't believe it because they immediately make it up because they know exactly what the reaction is going to be from the police. So it's at this point Gurpreet that genuinely didn't know what had happened and was simply taking his brother's word for everything, or that was the obvious choice. We're just going to concoct the story. Oh, he's being racist.
I mean, the only kind of like benefit of the doubt I can give these people, besides the murderer himself, because he knows he plunged a dagger into this man's heart, but everybody who wasn't there afterwards, the only thing I could think of is they would assume that Henry was very drunk, right? Because they're standing around and the guy is laying on the ground, like dying. So the only thing is they're completely going into protection mode. How do we get out of this? How do we save our butts? And they're not even caring about Henry very much. You saw at the beginning of that video, the father is like trying to prop him up, like saying to the cops. So he keeps falling over as the cops are walking up. So they know it doesn't look good that this guy is laying on the ground. But this goes on before the cops get there for many minutes. I mean, we're talking 20, 30 minutes of the family standing around seeing a man laying on the ground dying and not doing anything about it. I mean, even if you wanted to protect yourself, you'd want like the ambulance to come and save him so that he doesn't die, so your brother doesn't get a murder charge, right? So the only thing I can imagine is either they're too dumb again, or they are so obsessed with scamming that they don't even care about reality because they're trying to concoct their scam, or they just think he's drunk. Like I think that's what the cops thought when they first walked up, is that they thought he was really drunk. And that's, I guess, maybe what the brother and the mother and father could have been thinking.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, I think this is evidence to the contrary. He in the footage, his hair is in a bun, and then they intentionally muss their hair before the cops come so that it looks like he was attacked and he got his turban knocked off. Which, by the way, a turban is not the off switch for these people; it's center mass. Gurpreet denied that any weapons had been used. So it's like, what's that story look like? Oh, like this guy attacked me and I was able to thwart him with my strong arms. Like, are we insinuating that, like, this guy's a fighter? Is that the assumption? Is that this guy is just an MMA superstar? So they call 911. They wait for the police to arrive, or 999, because Britain has to be silly about everything. And then it's just, the whole time, and we saw it in the video, they were distracting away. Oh, you can't, distracting him away from receiving any medical attention. And that like furthers my belief that the brother knew what was going on as well. Because it's like, oh no, no, it's my brother that needs medical attention. Look at his eye with the fake bruise or whatever. They wanted to make sure that the cops did not examine Norwalk at all, or Nowak.
Could be low IQ scamming. In the scammer's mind, they're thinking, well, I need to make my injuries look worse than the other person's, without even having the intelligence to think about how it could be worse if this guy dies.
Yep.
I think we might have got past it already, but there is a part where one of the neighbors calls the police and says, I think someone got stabbed, and the police did not go do anything. So that's like not great. And Millennial Woes says a little bit later on at the end that, you could have combined those two phone calls and known, like, hey, a little while ago, a neighbor from this area called and said, I think someone got stabbed. And now you're going to go and find a guy laying on the ground. Obviously that didn't happen.
Yeah. There's the guy propping him up. Why would he keep dropping down if it wasn't injured? It was, like the cops are infected. And I think this is fairly ubiquitous in UK police forces, but they're infected with this programming. They're worse than the boomers. They've drank deep from the well of bullshit and are now continually, like, infected by this mind virus that any aggression is going to come from white people. Any like infraction against the social contract is going to come from white people, and brown people just are constitutionally incapable of being bad.
Or I would say that they think if it's like an equal, if a black man punches a white man and a white man punches a black man, that white man's violence is worse than the black man's. Right, here we go. We show up like, who knows? There's a fight. Somebody's hurt. They're both hurt. Well, let's arrest the white guy, right? Because let's say there's fault on both sides. Well, if the brown man is claiming racism, then he wins. At least in the cops' like initial assumption of what's going on. If there's two people who probably got in a fight and they might have both hurt each other, but the brown man claims that the white man was being racist about it, then that means that the white man's violence is worse than the brown man's. Until further notice, we'll do the judging later on. But our first assumption is that if there's an interracial event involving a white person and the non-white person claims anything to do with racism, then they immediately get the benefit of the doubt. The presumption of innocence goes to the non-white person who used the word racism.
Yeah, I mean, and look at the disparate treatment, right? So Nowak was immediately cuffed on the scene, completely non-responsive, obviously not in a position to like fight or resist the police at all, but they still cuffed him. Digwa was arrested at 11:55, so this is like 53 minutes after he got done stabbing. Arrested at 11:55 and was not handcuffed. And there's other testimony that he went, when they took him back to the precinct for booking, they let him just roam around in the kitchen to prepare himself some food because he was hungry. Meanwhile, the treatment of the white boy is he has to die in handcuffs begging, please, brother, I can't breathe.
Why would you not handcuff the murderer? Like, why would you handcuff a white guy laying on the ground dying, but you would not handcuff the man who killed him?
Who has a ceremonial dagger on him?
Who
Right?
has daggers, and he's standing there like he could run away. He could fight you. Now, obviously, he's a wimp. He's not a very intimidating man. So if they're just thinking, we don't need to handcuff him because he's complying, fine. But they handcuffed the dying white man laying on the ground. They handcuffed him. So we know their standards for handcuffing people, and it's pretty low. But then the guy who killed him that same day with that same police force did not get handcuffed. What?
Yeah. I mean, and look, innocent. He had acted in self-defense, terrified. Nowak might take his sword and stab him with it. It's like you confronted him, dude. Like you walked up to him. This is like the anti Chud the Builder defense, right? Like, I'm going to provoke the white man while armed, but also I'm going to kill the white man in self-defense because I'm scared that after I provoke the white man, he's going to take my weapon and kill me with it. It's like, it's beyond belief.
It is.
This
It's
entire
so
situation.
bad. And, I think it's worth mentioning here, and I think this is about the part in the article that Millennial Woes brings it up. Henry Novak, from what we can tell, and I was a little bit skeptical of this when I heard it in the news because I thought the police were kind of trying to protect themselves a little bit. But he describes the stab. Millennial Woes describes where that sword went through Henry's chest.
Yeah.
And it does seem like there was no helping this man. Like, even if they had got him immediately to a hospital, within 5 minutes, he was still going to die. Right here it is. He passed upwards through soft tissue between the two uppermost ribs, catching a lung and cutting an important vein behind the collarbone. Access to that vein would be impossible, so he would not have survived however quickly he received medical treatment. Now, like when I heard that in less detail, I thought maybe that was just some cope so that the cops wouldn't look as bad. But it does sound like perhaps this was truly a lethal blow, which, to be honest, helps the story a little bit. At least it just helps the tragedy of it be a little less tragic. Because if this was a slightly less lethal blow, it would have been all the more tragic that all of this time Henry could have survived. So, and maybe even for like Henry's family, who seems really cool because his dad is willing to stand up in front of the country and say this is wrong, which is brave. In England, it's more brave than here. And yesterday, we started the Carmelo Anthony trial for the murder of Austin Metcalf, and his father, Mr. Metcalf, has said, we just want all the people to know we're not racist, and we feel so bad for poor young Carmelo. That's what his attitude has been. So I do like Mr. Nowak over there. Interestingly, this guy is Polish. Like, this is not even really an English white man. He's a Polish white man, but unfortunately for him, he's not in Poland anymore. So he has to live with anti-white policing, even in a country where he is technically a minority himself. It's just, unfortunately, he's a white man. You see this Sikh tweet here. The white man racially barked at the Sikh and came to attack him, and Sikh guy defended himself. And so nobody in the world cares that he was Polish. To the world, he's white, right? And to the police, he was white.
Yep. So that's the story. I encourage everyone to go give Millennial Woes a subscription on Substack. Read this. It goes into a lot greater detail. But I think there's a couple of things we already touched on. Keep your head on a swivel, boys, because they're protected by the law. They can do things that you cannot do. And so I would just, even in America, we're all very braggadocious about our Second Amendment and our right to self-defense. If you study, if you take any concealed carry course or learn anything about self-defense law, it does not go the way you think it's going to go. If you have to defend yourself against someone, even in a red state, you're probably going to get arrested. You're probably going to spend the night in jail. You're probably going to have a very, very hard time with hearings and with attorneys and all that. And so, you need to be able to protect yourself, but you also need to think about what happens after you have to protect yourself. And so, I encourage everyone to look into what that looks like from, having a lawyer and all that kind of stuff. Never talk to the cops. You, you give very canned responses. I was engaged, I was at this location. This person attacked me. I feared for my life or for the life of my family. And I was forced to defend myself. And that's all you say until you get a lawyer. Yeah. And the other lessons in this is that the system sucks. The system failed in every conceivable respect. Yeah, maybe Nowak was going to die. But the system put him in proximity to an unstable person. If this Sikh and his family had never immigrated to Britain, this wouldn't have happened. Why do we need to import more problems? We have an adequate amount of problems on our own. What possible economic benefit could these people have delivered that would have outweighed the risk that they pose? Do we really need more minimum wage accountants and door dashers? Do we need more gig economy people? And in America, it translates into, do we need more people lying on their trucking resumes and getting fake CDLs registered to fake apartment buildings in fake California and, killing real people on the highways because they've never driven a truck before? These are real things that are happening. The system is failing.
Those are Sikhs too, a lot of times, or at least Patels and other Indians who do this. There's lying. I think a lot of this really boils down to white Christians building a high trust society and then not being able, because we went liberal, to see or to care that others do not behave in ways that are conducive to a high trust society. In fact, they are exploiting it. They are lying to you all the time. It was clear that this family was perfectly ready and willing to lie to defend a murder. Right? A mom went out, found a murder weapon on her son, and immediately, what does she do? She hides it. This is a family living alongside you in your neighborhood, and they don't need to be here. But I think really what this points, he was probably already dead. The cops, I actually sort of feel for them because they're going to get the blame. Of course, the corrupt liberal political system is not going to hold itself accountable for all the reasons that this happened. They're going to say, yeah, these cops they didn't do it well. They'll throw them under the bus, just like the Minnesota police threw Derek Chauvin under the bus for something that was nowhere even nearly as improper and inappropriate as these police officers' behavior. In fact, Derek Chauvin did absolutely nothing wrong at all. But these police officers, you can understand it. Even Millennial Woes wrote in that article, it was 3 minutes, and 3 minutes is a really long time to someone who is dying. But in regular life, if you walk up on a chaotic scene, 3 minutes is not that long. I think the only really atrocious, egregious behavior here is handcuffing the guy and arresting him for assault. And I mean, that's a joke now at this point. I think it's a joke. I laugh about how easily you can get arrested in the United Kingdom, right? You can get arrested for freaking saying mean words on the internet. They'll show up and be like, "Oh, mate, sorry, you're getting arrested for assault, for emotional damage," right? And so that's almost like a joke, but it's tyranny. It's awful. They have a left-wing government that is currently oppressing their people, but even that is kind of expected at this point. It shouldn't be. It's awful. But that was kind of the worst part of what these cops did. And what they did is what other cops are doing in England every single day. It's just that this was the perfect image. It's the perfect narrative. I love the image that's going around. We are not going to spurg out about if it's AI enhanced or not. It's a real thing, okay? If they took a still and AI made it look a little bit better to make it go viral, praise God for AI. This needs to get out. This is good. Propaganda is good because it's real. That is a real image. This really happened. And so it's just it's the perfect storm to show what is happening every day, which is the police in England think that their people themselves are second-class citizens, are subhuman, are slaves to foreigners, because that is the logical conclusion of liberal multiculturalism and leftist Marxism. That is where we're at. Everybody knows it, but this is just another chance to propagate the narrative so that we can stand up, so that Restore Britain gets more votes, so that people go and show that they're angry, because we need to stop this. Leftists like Keir Starmer are not going to stop this in the United Kingdom. The Labour Party is not going to stop this. The traitorous Conservative Party is not going to stop this. In fact, these people probably came during the Conservative Party's reign, and the Boris wave, or the Rishi government that brought in millions of people into this country under a conservative government. And I'm sorry, but Nigel Farage and the Reform Party, even though he gave a pretty nice sounding speech yesterday, he's not going to stop this either, because he is also a liberal. Restore Britain and Rupert Lowe, while not perfect, are the only option for the United Kingdom for a post-liberal, nativist, pro-England, pro-English, pro-British government. And I pray that they get it. I pray that they get it. And we need that here as well in America. We maybe don't have as good of an option right now on the table, but I pray that we continue to go in that direction, and that one day we do get a nativist option here that prioritizes the indigenous people of this country, the Americans, over foreigners and strangers, rather than the other way around.
Yeah. I think a key takeaway is that the Anglo and the Westerner is just not dispositionally prepared to deal with this type of diversity. Right. I went to a math science school, and a significant cohort of our classmates were Hindi. And one of the things that you learn very quickly is the head bob. The Indian head bob. Whenever they are talking to you and they're bobbing their heads back and forth, it's not like up and down. Like, it's not a nod. It's just kind of a wobble. The Indian head wobble. And if you ever talk to an Indian, just pay attention and watch them as they do it. This is an indication that they're lying. And there are, in their culture, there's a litany of permissible reasons for them to lie, and they will just lie to you, bald face, as easy as it is breathing. They will lie to you, and whatever their justifications or rationale is, it doesn't matter. You, as the Anglo, as the white man, as the Westerner, you just need to be dispositionally prepared. You need to understand that these people are probably lying to you to get something from you, or to protect something that they have. Tommy's namesake, Thomas Babington Macaulay, key British historian and politician and colonial administrator in India. He says, "What the horns are to the buffalo, what the paw is to the tiger, what the sting is to the bee, what beauty, according to the old Greek song, is to a woman, deceit is to a Bengali." And he says the Bengali is lacking in courage, independence, and veracity, portraying them as shaped by centuries of subjugation that supposedly fostered cunning and deceit. These are people who are genetically selected for their ability to deceive. And in their own culture, if you look at their scriptures, and Sikhs are slightly different but similar, falsehood is permitted. If the classic quote from the Mahabharata is, "On occasion of marriage or of enjoying a woman," which can be expanded out into a assault type situation, "when life is in danger, or when one's property is in danger, or for the sake of a Brahmin, falsehood might be uttered." These 5 kinds of falsehoods have been declared to be sinless. So you, as a Christian man, as a Western man, you are not used to encountering people that have a culture where it is completely okay to just lie all the time. And I think that the tragedy in this is that we need to be able to shift now. The time is coming where we need to be able to just recognize things for what they are. You need to have a realistic view of our world as it is. There are people here that just will not assimilate in any real fashion. Hopefully, as Thommy was saying, there's political ways that we can get out of this. Remigration, send them all home, restore Britain, restore the U.S. But until then, for the sake of your job, your livelihood, your business, and often your family's safety, you just got to keep your head on a swivel, boys. But that's all from me. Thommy, do you have any final thoughts?
Nope. just rest in peace to Henry Nowak. I hope that Carmelo Anthony is convicted of the murder of Austin Metcalf. And I hope that we could just continue to wake up and become nativist. I think it's okay. I'm a Christian. I'm just going to put that out there. As a Christian, I think it's okay to love your people. It is not a Christian value to be this sort of like colorblind idiot who thinks that race isn't real. Unfortunately, a lot of Christians have been convinced of that liberal idea that like we're all one race, the human race of Adam. But the Bible says that God took from one race and created all of the races of the world and set their boundaries and their times. So all of the races were created in God's good design. I've heard some Christians say that that was because of sin, you know, like Babel splitting up the world, that was sin. And so it's not really God's plan. I think that is a disgusting idea. I think it's a beautiful thing that we have separate races. I don't think it's bad for India to have Indians, but England should be for the English and America is for Americans. And that's not evil to say. And it's also not wrong to have strangers in your home every now and then, but to replace yourself with strangers and to turn the law against yourself in order to preference strangers above people like you is pure satanic inversion, and it's wrong. And Christ does not say such things are good. Christians do not need to believe in such ideas. And I do hope that Christ will bring truth and light back into this darkness. That's all for me, Paca.
Well, thank you all for joining. This has been episode 4 of PacaCast. And until next time, stay safe, buddy.